Hey everybody, Mara Hoover here, founder of FemPower You and Financial Power You. Welcome to this week's episode of The Mara Show. Again, I'm Mara Hoover, and at The Mara Show we broadcast live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. I bring incredible guests in the areas of personal development, business, and relationships. And today we have a good friend of mine and incredible entrepreneur, Mel Ethan Cutler here. I'm going to go ahead and read his bio so you know a little bit about him, and then we'll welcome him to the show. Serial entrepreneur from the age of 19, Mel Ethan Cutler trains entrepreneurs with essential tools and mindset. Having started 6 companies, with 2 of them creating 7-figure revenue streams, Mel has taken the lessons he's learned from his personal experiences and paired them with the wisdom he has gained from mentoring with extremely successful entrepreneurs to teach others how to create a successful business mindset while simultaneously creating income from monetizing their passion. And he's really good at it. Stressing the importance of creating entrepreneur communities, Mel also encourages social entrepreneurship and giving back to the community and world. His current project is his Success Academy, where he runs the popular Entrepreneur Revolution Weekend, which I have attended a couple of times. It's incredible. And the point is to bring people into larger and more intensive business and mindset classes, creating an all-encompassing any entrepreneur the necessary tools for success. And Mel, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Mara, for having me. I'm really excited. What you're doing with the entrepreneur community, with women, with men, helping them break through their financial barriers and helping them achieve what they want out of life is absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy to be able to support the community.
Well, Mel, I have had just such a great time getting to know you over the past, I think it's been about 9 months or so, and it's been so cool to see what you're creating in the space of entrepreneurship. And I think the most fun that I've had is figuring out how we as entrepreneurs can really collaborate. So that's been, I know for you guys, you and Kate, you really focus on collaboration as one of those key pieces of your business. Is that right?
Yeah, it's absolutely so crucial, and I'm glad we really get to start off with collaboration because so many entrepreneurs out there, they think it's all about competition. Mm-hmm. They think, oh, well, the person that's doing the same thing that I'm doing, they're in competition with me, which in a way, it's very almost logical to think that. But in this day and age, competition is out the door. It's not the way to do business anymore. And collaboration, being part of a community, stepping into alliances and helping each other, even though you might be in the same industry with the same product, there's still ways to mark yourself out as being different, and then working in a collaborative environment to generate unlimited referrals, to be able to charge what you deserve and get paid, and just to live the lifestyle you want through collaboration. And it's a lot less stressful that way. So I believe that's the new wave of what's happening right now. Yeah.
I completely agree with you, and I want to hear a little bit more about how you got into entrepreneurship and some of that journey. But first, since we're on the topic of collaboration, can you talk to the listeners a little bit more about how you choose who you're going to partner with, what you look for when you're going to create an alliance, and maybe some tips that they can use to start to begin that collaborative process if they're not doing so in their business already?
That is a very good question. So, it comes down to people doing what they say and saying what they do. And whenever you start off, whenever you are going to partner with someone, you got to view it like a marriage. Now, whenever I partner with someone, I always look for the long term. I want to say, okay, yes, we're going to do this, whatever it might be right now, but what does it look like in the long term? Is it somebody that is aligned with my values? Mm-hmm. And I would say right away, that's a big tip right there, is figuring out what your values are. What do you believe to be true? And how do you find others that believe that same thing to be true? Align your values with them. And that, when you do that, it's more likely to turn out well. Tony Hsieh, the guy who started Zappos, in his book, Delivering Happiness, he says in there, they never hire anyone based on their solely on their skill set. Never. They always hire first on culture. And culture has to do with values. If they align themselves with the Zappos values and the Zappos culture, then they'll hire them and they believe they can train the skills. Well, the same thing with figuring out who to partner up with, who to do joint ventures with. You have to be aligned with them. And this is the craziest thing is we know. We know right away. Right away we know. We have that feeling inside and we're like, you know, that person said that thing or they didn't follow through on that thing. And you know right away that it's not a good fit. But see, entrepreneurs, when they come from a place of scarcity and fear, they'll learn the hard way, basically, which is good because we all need those experiences to figure out and to start trusting yourself more. So you say, you know what, this person did what they said they were going to do. We had a great conversation. We aligned ourselves. Our values match, and we gave each other tasks. That's number 2. You give somebody a task. You test them. And if they need to get back to you at a certain time with, you know, certain information, and they do, then great, they pass that task. But if they're kind of lagging on it, and you know your appointment is set at 11 o'clock, and they show up at 11:30 or call you at 11:20, well, you know that might not be a deal breaker, but that definitely is a clue into whether you know you want to work with them long term.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of the things I look at.
Yeah, and I love how you said that we know, because there's been a couple times where I knew that I knew that I knew, and I did it anyways, and you know, it ends up being one of those lessons where you get that extra confirmation of, you know, I should have probably just listened to myself in the first place. And you're right, you start to build that trust inside of you to know that you can trust that knowing when it pops up.
Yeah, and that is the sense of awareness. That is what people call intuition, and what it is, it's being able to listen more than you talk, and being able to come from a place of abundance and understanding. When I say coming from a place of abundance, knowing that not everyone is going to be your perfect partner, and that there's plenty of people out there. When I first started, I was so scared, you know, to say no. And saying no, as a matter of fact, is more important than saying yes. When Steve Jobs, when they kicked Steve Jobs out of Apple, and Scully took over, the guy who was running Pepsi at the time, they had over 300 offerings. Apple had 300 product offerings, printers, computers. They had 300 products. Well, during that time, Apple was going bankrupt. They were going to be bankrupt. And they begged Steve Jobs, please, please come back. So Steve Jobs finally said yes. He started Pixar at the time. He said yes. He came back to Apple. The very first thing he did is he said, you have 300 offerings. How can we focus on 300 things? He cut all of them but 10. And then he said, now we can put our A team members on those 10 things. So it's never about all these different partners. It's if you've aligned yourself with 5, maybe even 2 people that consistently promoted you and you promoted them. You did what you were going to say and they did what they were going to say, which, by the way, it's going to take you a little bit of time to hone that in and to find those people, because you have to become that person first. And then what happens is you create long-lasting joint venture partners or whatever partners you're looking for, and you each, you know, rub each other's shoulders, and it feels good.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into your entrepreneurial journey, because I've heard your story, and I know a lot of the listeners that are here today probably have not. So I would love for you to share a little bit about how you got started in entrepreneurship and what encouraged you to really pursue that path, because as we said in your bio, I think you said there's, was it 7 different companies? No, 6 companies, and 2 have gone 7 figures. So you've been an entrepreneur for a while. So what got you started down that crazy path?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. The first thing is that I wasn't a born entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur really from necessity, because early on, 16 years old, my parents said, look, if you want anything, whatever it is you want to buy a nice shirt, you want to buy a car, you're going to have to do that because we're not going to do that for you. Mm-hmm. So out of necessity, I said, well, I have to go get a job. And all the jobs I had from 16 to 19, I've gotten fired from. And I realized, well, this is not very sustainable, and why am I building somebody else's dream? And so at 19, I was very fortunate to find a phenomenal mentor, somebody who took me by the hand and guided me in the right direction, because at that time I was very misguided. And unfortunately, my parents, they meant well. They said, Mel, you have to work hard, you have to study really, really hard, you got to get good grades, and then you have to go get a good job. Well, I did that, and I found out it didn't work too well. And so even though my parents, they meant well, they didn't know well. And they came from a place where they immigrated from a country that was a very scarce country. So they wanted the most secure thing for their kids. I have two younger brothers. And they were born in Russia, and they immigrated to Canada. And because they said, look, there's no opportunity here in Russia, we have to get out of here. Mm-hmm. And in Canada, that's where I was born. And from Canada, when I was born, I wasn't thriving as a little kid. I was actually not doing so well physically. I wasn't gaining weight, and my parents were freaking out. They're like, what is wrong with our baby? And so they took me to the hospital, and they asked the doctor, you know, we don't know what's happening. He's not growing. He doesn't want to eat. He's always crying. And the doctor did a special test, which was a sweat chloride test. And they found out that I had a genetic disease called cystic fibrosis. Now, 15 years ago, kids were not living past 13 years old with CF. And my parents said, you know what, he's not thriving in this cold climate. We have to go somewhere where the medical technology is cutting edge and where there's support for our child. And so they packed everything. I still have family to this day in Canada. My parents left everything, and they moved from Canada, thankfully, to Southern California.
Lucky.
Yeah. And I thank them every day. They're amazing, amazing, amazing people. And growing up in Southern California, I saw all the things that I wanted. I mean, you know, we're living in the land of plenty, and I didn't have much. Every year we would go to Goodwill to buy clothes to go to school. And I'm like, this is not what I want. I want that stuff out there. And I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know, because my parents always said, no, 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 you can't have that, you can't have that. And, you know, I look back on that, and that back then, I really resented it. I didn't understand that they were actually giving me one of the most powerful gifts, and that is appreciation. That is saying, you know what, you got to get out of thinking that the world owes you something. You got to get out of that victim mentality, and you got to go out there and make it happen if you want that to happen. And no one else is going to want it more than you. No one's going to help you unless you help yourself. So I said, okay. You know, I got into college, and in college, I was working 3 jobs at the time. I had a full-time girlfriend, which was like a 4th job. And yeah, and at that time, I was partying really hard, doing drugs, drinking, just not taking care of myself physically. And my physical body really took a toll. And at that moment, I realized how important health is, because without health, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You know, I was able to semi-retire when I was 25, and there was times in my life where I didn't want to get up out of bed because I just didn't feel good. Mm-hmm. And no money is worth it. It doesn't matter at that point. At 19 years old, I had to be carried to the emergency room, and I was dehydrated, didn't take care of myself. I was on my deathbed. And I remember sitting in that hospital bed with IVs in my arm, a tube down my nose, and sitting there thinking to myself, what the heck is going on? And I remember that this was a moment in my life that really shifted everything. And, you know, breakthroughs can happen anytime, at any place, at any moment. If you're watching this right now, it might be happening right at this moment. Doctor comes in, he looks at me, he looks at the chart, he looks at me, And the next words that came out of his mouth totally changed my life, 180 degrees. He said, Mel, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. He put the chart back down and walked out. And that blew my mind. It totally blew my mind. If you keep doing what you're doing, well then your past is going to look exactly like your future. Mm-hmm. And no matter how bright you want your future to look, if your past, if you keep doing that, if you keep having the beliefs, if you keep having those same negative emotions, if you keep holding on to that story, whatever it might be, if you don't learn new skills, if you don't become more valuable, if you don't learn how to take your gifts and share them with the world, there's no way, no how that your future is going to look bright. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's going to look very dim. And so at that moment I said, I have to take matters into my own hands. And I was working a job. I was valeting. And one of the restaurants that I was valeting at was a very nice restaurant. And I remember this gentleman would come in all the time, him and his wife. And he had what I call the trifecta. He would pull up in a car as much as a house. He had, it seemed like, an amazing relationship with his wife, which later on I found out, amazing relationship. And he was fit. So he had wealth, he was physically in tune, and had an amazing relationship with his wife. Mm-hmm. And this gentleman would come in and out, and one day I just got sick and tired, and it was shortly after my hospital stay. It's funny how sometimes we need a Mack truck to hit us on our ass to realize what's important and what's going on and how to revert and get back on course.
Right.
And I just asked this gentleman, as when he walked out that night, I pulled up his car and I said, sir, what is it that you do, and can you help me, please? That's it. I lowered my ego. I was open. I said, what is it that you do, and can you help me, please? And my whole life, my parents always told me, rich people, they don't want to help you. They're greedy. They're stingy. Why would they want to help you? They're not. Why would they want to share their information with you? Mm-hmm. And what I found out is, yes, there are some of those rich people, but then there's a whole other sector of them that do want to help. They have everything already. What's next for them? And that's what I realized, how amazing it could be to have the time to understand how to create the lifestyle and to create businesses that continuously pay you whether you're working them or not. As a matter of fact, right now I'm in the process of buying another company. Every year I'll buy 2 to 3 companies, and we'll build them up. We'll fix up the sales, the management, the marketing, and then we'll sell them in 12 to 8 months. I'm acquiring a business right now. Well, this business that I'm acquiring, that's going to pay me whether I work at it or not, because I'm going to plug in the people that are going to work it. Mm-hmm. Well, I never used to think about things like that till I sat with my first mentor, and he said, Mel, you have to work on 2 things for the rest of your life to be successful. And I was taking notes. I mean, every word that came out of his mouth was gold. And those 2 things, which I'll share a little bit later, those 2 things, I did them over and over and over in my businesses and in my life, and it made the ultimate difference. And from 19 to 25, I was able to make enough money, and I don't like to say semi-retired, but I was able to become financially free. I moved to an island just north of Honduras. Actually, that's where I met my fiance, the lovely Kate, which I'm so excited to get married here in July 18th. And then we're going on an awesome honeymoon in Italy in September. But I live an amazing life now, and it's because I've been very focused, and I saw the end result before it actually happened. And so that's what I train entrepreneurs to do now, is not only in your mindset, but what's the skill set? Who do you need to become to achieve what you want? Mm-hmm. And so now we run awesome workshops that help a lot of people, thousands of entrepreneurs every year, including you, Mara. You were one of our star pupils. It was really awesome to have you at the event. And yeah, so I've developed the 7 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs are making right now to stay broke. There's 7 big ones. Now, there's much more than 7, but there's 7 big entrepreneur mistakes that will hold you back, that will it will hold you back from ever living your dream, and it will keep you broke. So that's what the curriculum is all about, these 7 biggest mistakes.
So do you have time, Mel, to share a couple of those or all of them, or what do you think that is maybe the number one piece, the number one biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making right now that is keeping them not only maybe broke financially, but broke emotionally?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can just start with the first biggest mistake.
Awesome.
And Mara, you just let me know how much time, you
No,
want to spend.
we'll just keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
Let us know.
So the first biggest mistake, number one, is it's all about your mind. It's all about the limiting beliefs. So the biggest mistake is not being aware of the limiting beliefs you currently have. What might they be? Well, average people might think that money is the root of all evil.
Yep.
Rich people believe poverty is the root of all evil. That's a big shift.
Yeah.
Average people think selfishness is a vice, and rich people think selfishness is a virtue. Average people have a lottery mentality, and rich people have an action mentality. So it all starts, the foundation is all about your belief system. What do you believe to be true? Do you believe that you're too young to start up a business? You're too old to start up a business. You need money to start up a business. 5 of the 6 companies that I've started have been with bootstrap, little to no money. Not because I couldn't put money into it, because I wanted to be able to replicate my results for other people who were serious about starting up a business and creating the lifestyle they wanted. So that's why I started with very little to no money. So the first is limiting beliefs. Your limiting beliefs are the story that you've created for yourself.
Right.
Good or bad.
Yeah, well, and what I've seen, I mean, I'll share a little bit of what I've been going through is for a lot of us, those limiting beliefs are not necessarily something that we chose. It was something that was mirrored to us, and by default, we end up choosing it. We end up saying, okay, well, that's the example that I had, and so that's what I'm going to follow. And what I've realized, especially over the last month, as I've really been looking at my life and the way that I run my business and the way that I live my personal life, is that I was mirroring my dad. And my dad's belief is that you have to work really, 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 really hard to make money. So he would work from 4 a.m. to 7 or 8 p.m. every single day, except for Sunday he'd take 4 hours off. And what I found is that I've been doing that because by default, almost like that was just the way that it's supposed to be. So I had this belief that I adopted without even realizing I had adopted it that said you have to work really, really hard in order to deserve to be successful, whatever that is that you choose. So that's been kind of my personal experience in that area, and what I've found is it's an ongoing process. So do you want to address a little bit of that, Mel?
Yeah, absolutely. If we think about it right now, where did we get our beliefs from?
Yeah.
They come from our parents, our mom, our dad, our grandparents, our teachers, our peers, and we did not choose them. That's absolutely right. And what happens is they just become us. They become us in our unconscious mind. And we have 2 minds. We have the mind that's conscious. Right now, your conscious mind is listening to what I'm saying, you're understanding what I'm saying, and you're consciously thinking whatever thoughts you have, like, I'm hungry, I should have eaten a bigger breakfast, or whatever. Your unconscious mind is the part that gets programmed. That's the part that you don't understand why you do the things you do. Well, you do them because they're programmed in your unconscious.
Right.
Who you are, the part that's beating your heart, the part that's blinking your eyes, all of that is your unconscious. When you don't control it, it's part of your unconscious mind. Most people, 99.9% of people, will never change. They just won't. I wish I could tell a happy story here, but they won't. They're destined to keep doing what they're doing because they don't know how to reprogram, unlearn, and then relearn the stuff that has gone into their head. The good news is, I'll give you some good news here.
Oh, good.
The good news is that the first step to changing anything in your life is awareness. Is you saying, oh, you know what, my dad did that over there, and it didn't serve him, but I catch myself, now I'm doing the same thing.
Yep.
Well, that first step of awareness is the first step to creating change.
Mm-hmm.
And now you need to find mentors like you, Mara, amazing people that know how to change behavior, change patterns, because humans only run so many patterns. We're really not that complicated. We run so many patterns to get that same result. Now, if you're running good patterns, then you're getting great results, which is phenomenal. And most of the time we're running negative ones and we don't know how to get rid of them. So the first step is to go through a belief and decision process. Because before we ever took on that belief, we made a decision. Our destiny is determined by the decisions we make today.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. You, Mara, deciding to do this show right now and pushing through and making it happen, that decision is going to play a monumental role in your future. Just like for me, doing this interview. It's just making the decision, stepping up, and making it happen is going to make a monumental, even though it might be a small decision, we don't know how large it will be throughout the course of our life.
Yep.
So the first biggest mistake is understanding limiting beliefs you have and finding the tools, the workshops, the books, the audios, the mentors, whoever, to help you get over them as fast as possible so your future can be completely different than the last years, if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I know the mindset is really the big piece where you focus. So what is the second limiting belief that you're finding that entrepreneurs are doing to keep themselves stuck and broke and maybe emotionally drained?
Totally. So the second biggest mistake is not being aware of your negative emotions. Not being aware of the negative emotions you have come out. Now, this does not only have to do with business. It has to do with relationships. When, your significant other does something and it's something you don't like, what negative emotions come up? Mm-hmm. When in business you have to hire somebody, what emotions come up? When you have to fire somebody, what happens? When you're about to do a big deal that's bigger than the usual deals, what emotions come up? You see, the average person, they long for the good old days because they're living in the past. They're living in the past emotions, they're living in the past memories. Rich people, people who are very successful, they dream of the future, who they are going to be in the future, how they're going to act in the future, and what emotions don't control them anymore. Mm-hmm. The number one emotion at the Entrepreneur Revolution, which is our 2-day event, it's not like any other event anyone has ever gone to, and you can vouch for that, Mara.
Yep.
It combines the best of the best of the best for entrepreneurs. There's no one out there doing anything like it that I've seen.
Yep. The
biggest thing we overcome on day one, the number one negative emotion for entrepreneurs is fear. Fear. The debilitating fear, once it's overcome, you now take more massive action. Mm-hmm. Once fear is overcome, you create the partners you want, and you stop putting them up on a pedestal, and you actually start adding value. Mm-hmm. Overcoming fear, and it's not that you're totally getting rid of it, it's now you're just able to act in spite of it. You're able to move through it instead of being held back by it. Mm-hmm. Once you're able to release fear, your entire life changes. And the thing is fear, it's a chemical. Deepak Chopra brought to light that the chemicals are not only created in our head, but that chemical bathes every single cell of our body. Now, fear creates stress, and stress creates an acidic environment in the body. So, health-wise, it's not good for you. It's not good for you health-wise, it's not good for you in your relationships, and it's not good in business. So the moment you're able to release it, understand what it's really doing, what it's actually serving, how is it actually helping you, and you're able to reframe it in your head, everything can change for you right away. And I'm talking about breakthrough results here. I'm talking about permanent, lasting change. Because once you become aware of yourself and what you do and who you are, you can just become smarter now. And that's the whole goal, is just to get smarter. Stop making stupid decisions and start making smarter decisions by seeing how the decision you make today is going to affect your future. And it will, one way or another. So that's the second biggest mistake, is being able to, the mistake is not being able to handle the negative emotions, which I'll tell you really quick. There's 5 major negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Those are the 5 major ones. All other emotions are a combination of 2 or 3 of those ones. But those are the 5 major negative ones. And once you start to realize how you react and you then start to proact, then you'll get a whole new set of results.
Right.
That's number 2.
So number 1 was limiting decisions. Number 2 is negative emotions. So what would you say is, what's number 3?
Number 3 is the lack of having a compelling and foreseeable future for yourself. So when you don't totally see yourself being successful, or being in a healthy relationship, or becoming that person you want, then you're not going to be compelled. As a matter of fact, most people hold on to the negative picture of who they once were, trying to move forward stuck in the past.
Yep.
That doesn't work. And it works if you want to get negative results. If you want to get positive results, you have to see yourself as who you want to be, not who you were or don't want to be. The average person sees themselves as who they are or who they were. They see themselves as broke even though they might have money. They see themselves as not an effective communicator even though they might be pretty good. Rich people, people who are financially set, successful entrepreneurs, they see their own potential. They see who they could be. Now, it's easier said than done, because this does take visualization practices. A very effective tool is hypnosis, guided visualization, meditation, and the best is finding somebody who knows what they're actually doing to take you through these processes so you get the best result every single time. So successful people see themselves as who they could be in the most positive light, and they train their brain to stay in that place, because your brain is just a muscle. If you've trained it to talk crap about yourself, then it can do that really well. If you've trained it to get depressed, well, then it can do that very fast. But you can also train it to actually help you and guide you to what you want, to develop the business you want, to attract the relationship you want. It's just now has to be the time when you start to focus and train your focus, because anything you'll ever get in life is what you focus on.
Yep.
So once you're able to focus clearly, you'll start to get exactly what you want. So that is the third biggest mistake, is not having a compelling, motivating, amazing vision of yourself for your future.
So these are all different things that you cover at the Entrepreneur Revolution, is that right?
Yeah. What I found is I found that these 7 things, when you work on any one of them, let alone all 7 of them, you create profound breakthroughs in your life, period. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
And it's not because me. It's not because I'm so great. I went out there. I spent the last 11 years studying with the best of the best. What I share is now what I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn, and I've compressed decades into days. And in 2 days, you're going to break through whatever crap you have holding you back. The only stipulation is that you have to be open to it, and you have to take action. Nothing works without you being open and you taking action. That's it. Those are the 2 requirements.
Yeah.
And so at the Entrepreneur Revolution, the entire first day is getting rid of limiting beliefs, overcoming your fears, and creating a compelling future. Now, day 2 is about the remainder 4 biggest mistakes, which are more external And those are the skill sets that are necessary to grow a successful business properly.
Cool. So what I want to do right now, since we're about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through, is I wanted to let everybody know about a really cool offer that you have to actually check out the Entrepreneur Revolution. Let them know the details of that, and then we'll jump into the last four, the external biggest mistakes, and then we can wrap up. Sound good?
That sounds like a plan.
Awesome. So what Mel has done is he's got two really cool offers for you. The first is a free offer, which is more information about how to avoid these 7 biggest mistakes. And so you can get that if you head over to themarashow.com. You're going to find this video as an archive in our archive area. And right underneath there's going to be a button that will direct you directly to Mel's site, where you can check out entrerevolution.com and get more information on these 7 biggest mistakes. And that is the freebie offer. We also have a really cool pricing offer that Mel's put together. So Mel, tell us a little bit more about the Entrepreneur Revolution offer that you've created specifically for the viewers of the Mara Show.
Awesome. Happy to do that. Now, Mara, I told you that I'm here to support your community and what you do 100%. So this offer is for your community and the people in it that are serious about their future, growing a business, starting a business, and they want to get away from the average people that are, they're making a living doing things that they don't love, and they want to step into following their passions and figuring out a way to make money doing it. And if they're already in their passion, how to double and triple that revenue immediately. That's what they'll learn in the Entrepreneur Revolution. The Entrepreneur Revolution, it's a 2-day event. Like I said, it's not like any other event. And that event is $795. It's 2 days. It's jam-packed. It's crammed with information that will create breakthroughs in somebody's life and business. Those 2 days are not only impactful internally and uncovering the internal blockages, but also external. External, learning how to sell properly. How do you serve more people? Because selling is serving. How do you market effectively? How do you get more eyeballs to your product and service? And what we cover in the 2-day event is how do you attract an all-star team? How do you actually bring together other people and have them work on your mission and purpose while they're also being fulfilled? So we cover all of that. Like I said, it's $795. We do them we have one coming up in LA, and we have one coming up in Orange County at the end of June.
Cool.
Your listeners and your viewers are going to get a very, very awesome, highly discounted ticket. What I'm willing to do is for 10 of them, because we have to limit it, for 10 of them, they will not pay $795. As a matter of fact, they won't even pay half of that. They're going to come on a discounted scholarship ticket. And that is all they have to do is cover their, they have to cover their cost of being there. And that's a $97. That's it. For $97, awesome. They get to come to 2 days, and they get to meet me, they get to be mentored by me, they get to, and really the best thing is the community. Because these events attract some of the best entrepreneurs that they'll end up doing business for years to come. So for $97, as long as they use your discount code, which is Mara Discount, when you go to entrerevolution.com and you plug in the discount code Mara Discount, which will be on your website, Mara.
Yep, it'll be right under the archive video.
Awesome. Then they'll get that discount. And again, there's only 10 available. So if it's something, like if you feel compelled, if my message resonated with you and you're like, you know what, this guy makes sense, then come. The next step for you is to come to the live experience, get your ticket, and you'll be my guest. So that is my very, 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 very special offer.
Yeah, I would say so. And having attended the Entrepreneur Revolution, it's a mind-blowing 2 days. And as you said, it's so great to learn directly from you. It also is amazing to be able to really connect with the community. So I encourage my community, those of you that are watching either live or the archive, the first 10 that sign up using that discount code, Mara Discount, you're going to be able to attend the Entrepreneur Revolution, which is normally $795 for that scholarship price, just covering the cost of $97. So take Mel up on this incredible offer and make sure you go. It's one of those life-changing things because of the connections you're going to make and the new tools and skills you're going to gain. So speaking of those skills, Mel, you said that the last 4 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs are making are more skill and tool-based, more external. So can you give us an overview of what those other 4 mistakes are?
Absolutely. So the next biggest mistake is not having the skills to sell persuasively. Now, I know some of you watching this right now, you're like, oh, he said sell. And selling sometimes is scary. Sometimes selling, if you don't understand what you're actually doing, could come across as incongruent. The thing is selling is the bloodline of any business. It's the conversation you have one-on-one between you and a client. It's a conversation you have one-on-many. It's a conversation you have over the phone with somebody. If you don't know how to persuasively sell congruently, which means it's a win for you and win for them, then you're not going to be in business long. That's the bottom line. So if you know you just don't feel good about selling, you got to come to the event because I will help you break through that. At the event, I teach you a 5-step sales process, step by step by step. Have you ever bought something from somebody that it was like buying something from your friend? You didn't feel like you were being sold at all? If that's happened to you, it's because they actually cared about you and your problem, and they wanted to solve it for you with their product and service. And when that happens, then you're able to sell effortlessly. So I'll share with you how to do that. Next biggest mistake is not understanding marketing, not marketing effectively. Marketing is the art of bringing more eyeballs to your product or service. How do you do that online? How do you do it offline? Well, there's 4 P's of marketing that I share for you immediately to get whatever your product or service is out there to more eyeballs so people can actually see what you have to offer. I'll share that with you at the 2-day event. It's phenomenal. And then the second to last biggest mistake is not having a team. You yourself can do some great things. It's true. You yourself can do some phenomenal things. But imagine you actually doing it with a team. You doing it with people that love what you have to offer, and they want to share it with the rest of the world. Well, there's a way to attract an all-star team without spending a fortune. I'll teach you that at the 2-day event. Unfortunately, we have limited time on this interview. Otherwise, we could go for days, right, Mara?
We totally could. Between the 2 of us, we could have the world's longest Google Hangout.
And then the final and last biggest mistake. Is lack of massive action. That's the key. At the end of the day, if you want to go from where you're at to where you want to go, that bridge is taking massive action. It's not making the right decisions. It's not thinking you're not going to fail because you are. It is just taking action. Failure happens to all of us. It's just how you perceive it. You might fail at something that you don't like to do. So, and the chances are most likely you are. So why not at least align yourself with something you love to do, and hey, you might make it. This is what I want to leave the viewers with right here. This is a golden nugget. This is very, very, very important. You see, average people set low expectations. They just don't expect much out of life. It is how it is. This is how it's going to be. They don't expect much. So they're never really disappointed, right? So they never really feel that pain. That's okay for average people. For me, Mara, I know for you, rich people are up for the challenge. We set high expectations. We shoot for the moon. We go out there and we say, hey, look, you know what? If somebody else can make it happen, then I can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never achieved what I've achieved without phenomenal mentors. I can say that easily. I'm not the smartest guy. All I'm really good at doing is listening, following directions, and taking action. That's it. And if I fail, that's okay. That's okay, because I fear regret more than I fear failure. I don't want to look back and say, you know what, I should have, could have, would have, and then it never happens.
Right.
I'm happy to fail over and over and over again. Yes, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it costs a little bit of money. Sometimes it costs a lot of money. Sometimes it costs relationships. But you know what? I'd rather fail than live in mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather shoot for the stars and end up and get some phenomenal results, no matter how long it takes me. It doesn't matter. And that is what the entrepreneur revolution really is. It's about stepping up, stepping out, going against the status quo, rejecting the 9-to-5, and doing something amazing with our lives while we have them. Yeah.
Well, that was a perfect wrap-up. Thank you, Mel, so much for joining us. Normally I ask for final thoughts, but those were perfect final thoughts. So I want to thank all of our viewers that are watching live, all of you that are going to be watching on the archives, and I do want to encourage you to head over to themarashow.com, and underneath the archive video you're going to be able to get that link so you can get more information on the 7 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs are making. That's Mel's free gift, as well as a $97 offer for his $795 Entrepreneur Revolution, which is unbelievable pricing. As I said a couple times throughout the show, it was a life-changing event for me to attend. I love being partnered with Mel, and I appreciate all of you joining us here at The Mara Show, where we broadcast live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, bringing you experts in business, relationships, and personal development. Mel, I want to thank you so much for being here on the show and sharing your wisdom with us, and look forward to partnering with you a lot in the future. Any last thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share?
Mara, you are absolutely amazing. You're an inspiration to all the people around you. And what you're doing, the gift you're bringing to the world, is phenomenal. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I look forward to your viewers and your followers and your community. I'd love to have them at the Entrepreneur Revolution to give them really the competitive advantage in a collaborative environment. So I look forward to seeing a couple of them at the live event, and you're amazing as always. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I really, really, really do appreciate you and what you do.
Thank you, Mel. Thanks so much for being here. And again, thank you to all of our viewers. Head over to themarashow.com and you can check out Mel's free offer, his incredible pricing for Entrepreneur Revolution, and you can subscribe so that you're able to get all of the heads up and information on upcoming guests, as well as access our archives. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Take care.